2, 1.
Okay, welcome back everybody. Thank you so much for coming today. This is the third and final of our suite of classes today. So we did in the first instance the basics, where we've made up all of our bases for our finger food. In the second class, which was in two parts, one which is filmed, one which is not, because we lost it, we filled all of our beautiful bases and we've got our lovely, lovely foods here ready to plate up and serve. So this is the final stage, which is plating, presentation and eating. The dog's hungry too. So yeah, we did all of those things. The objective in this one is just to basically consider what might help make your plate look, you know, more presentable or fancy when you go to, you know, a social soiree. If you're having a party at home, it's lovely. If you make it a bit more dressed up, everybody thinks it's a bit special. Certainly when we go to the movie nights and things down here, you sometimes see some gorgeous garnishes. But we've pretty much got mostly savouries. We do have one little sweet thing which I'll give you a bit of a tip about, but I will mostly just talk about what I think is important considerations. Please, we'll have an interactive discussion. You've got some ideas, we'll just talk about it and then we can work on plating some up. You can see we've got some smaller trays at the top of the table, so we might do, you know, if you want to pass them around, those little white ones in, please. So we can use those. I've also got some larger trays, so you might like to do one between two or one lower one. We'll see how we go. There's also some round ones here for a little bit of something different. Or there's just a standard little round plate. Underneath the tomato tarts there, Christine, you'll find a couple of lovely trays I prepared earlier. No fighting, ladies.
No, just making it so fit.
Oh, I see. Okay. That's okay then. So with these larger trays, especially the round ones, it's good. I thought that would be useful because it works well if you've got something in the middle and then you have bits around the outside. So we can integrate some of our puff pastry creations with the leftover dip in the centre, you know, so then there's a whole nother layer. So thank you again also for filling in the evaluation forms at the end of the last class and for washing up and everything before we started to kick off again. Don't have to put all that into film each time, I'm sure. So we've learned a whole range of fancy foods to impress our friends and others. Can anybody think of anything to consider when you start plating up your foods? What might make it look more
colour and shape.
Colour and shape, we went through that. So we've got a few different colours integrated into here and a few different shapes, you're right?
Yeah,
Crowding, spacing out on the tray.
you make your veggie and vegan things obvious, but they're
And that is a good point. It depends on your guests, you know. Do you need to have dietary requirements separated? Do you need to have the gluten-free stuff well marked or separated away? Because I find it's quite crazy. You go to a party for 60 people, there are 2 vegans, I make all the same food, but there's a modified for vegans, and everyone says, well, I like vegan too.
Yeah.
And I said, well, there's only 2 serves. That's exactly the same. Yeah, but I want the vegan one.
Yeah.
So you have to make
Because
sure
I want to taste it.
they want to taste it, you know.
Yeah.
So that is a consideration. If you've made special things for people, you might need to put them aside so that the bulk people don't just go, oh yeah, look at that, and eat it. Also, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And certainly things like allergies to nuts, you must, I always, no matter what I do, if it's got nuts on it or in it, do some without. Don't touch them with nutty hands. As we did with the gluten-free pastry, we made the gluten-free pastry. If you make gluten-free pastry and normal pastry, obviously do the gluten-free first, so that there's no cross-contamination with gluten in the gluten-free thing, which is already in your food processor or in your bowl, or clean under your fingernails and things like that.
I guess another thing you might have to consider is whether the food's being passed around or on a display table, because if it's being passed around you don't want trays that are too heavy or awkward.
That's true, that's good. And that comes back to what you're saying with crowding and spacing. If it's on a tray, is it going to move around?
Yeah.
Is it going to be standing there? And you can bulk your foods and sort of pack them in a little bit using different garnishes, which is something we'll come to.
And the other thing is there enough food? I mean, what do you say? A person's going to eat 2 quiche, they're going to eat 2 of the little cups and maybe a couple of tomato things, all right? So you look at how many people and you've got to figure out, is there enough food, you know? Because you don't want to just go, it's all gone.
Well,
That's true too, and if you have a party that goes over a period of time, you don't want everything out all at once.
No.
Because then it will all go, and then 10 people arrive and there's no food left. So you might want to stagger it, and so that way you can put, you know, a few quiche and a few, you can do mixed plates, so that way you do have a little bit of everything out at the start, a little bit of everything out in the middle, or a little bit of... Another thing to consider is it a cold dish or is it a hot dish? Don't put the hots and the colds necessarily together, because you want the hots to be gone, but the cold you can leave, or the hots might take a little while to prepare. Does whatever we're eating have a dip or a sauce or something which goes with it? So that's what I'm saying with the round plate, you know, if you've got your beautiful round tray there and you want to put a tzatziki dip in the middle, well, a round tray might be a good idea for that, so that you've got the space around there. You put your dip in the middle and you can easily, you know, fill the space using your little puffy things. Or again, using different tools, like something like this. Might be better to stack your little straws in, or your twists or something. You can think a little bit outside the square and apply some height or some spatial differences on your tray or your plate. So in this case, we're having everything cold. These are the sweet ones, as I say. These other items do need garnish. So the other thing you were talking about, Bruce, with colours, you're on the money there, because with the little cups that we made, the wonton cups with the chicken salad in it, it's got a lot of green sort of colours to it. Perhaps you can offset that by using a red garnish. With the tomato tarts, they're little orange, red tomato things, you can offset that using a green garnish, a bit of parsley or a bit of, you know, oregano, as we talked about. There's some rosemary, or sprinkle some thyme in little bits around. You know, do you want your garnish to be actually on your food, or do you want it to be around the edge? You know, you can use things like toasted sesame seeds or poppy seeds might make a little bit of a change as well. And I like to think outside the square. I've got carrots growing randomly in my garden, so that is an edible plant.
Oh.
So that is a carrot top. I also had cornflowers growing, and they don't taste nice if you eat a whole flower. They're not toxic, so they're edible. Things like marigolds or pansies and stuff like that. So I dried out some of the petals, and that gives you a little bit of an extra colour. Because certainly that cornflower blue, you know, that's a gorgeous sprinkle. Then the other thing to consider is on your plate, you know, is something like the quiche is not garnished, something like the tomato tarts in the little boxes are, but do they look okay on the plate? Does the plate itself need a bit of a garnish on the side, or maybe a little one that sticks in between a few things, or, you know, you could even have something standing up in with your spikes, or, you know, it's colour, shapes, textures.
You can put a leaf on the bottom, like
design, artistic bent, or just whack it all on the tray, and when it's all there, go, parsley on the side, looks like I bought one. So if you want to have a go, see how you go with colour combinations. There's some parsleys, bits here. I've also got some little bits of darker lettuce, which, you know, change it again. I find that these sort of little garnish guys, excuse me, Shirley and Jenny, if you put, you know, just one of them, look at the change in that. Is it one, or do you want two? Do you want 3, 4? How many do you need? You know, what looks better? Something like a parsley or a coriander as well. Do you want to put it on as a, this is not a savory, but you want to put it on as a whole piece, or is it better if you break a few bits over the top and just have little pieces on there? So it's really up to you with the eye of the beholder, and also how strong the flavours are. Do you eat your garnish, or is it just decoration? If everyone would like to make up a platter, we can talk about what you're doing as we go.
I might have my rose.
Oh, Bruce's rose. Oh yes, we also have these little puff doodads, which we can put around and mix up. So Paul, if you want to get those off, yeah, just put those aside. Put them in.
I have 0 artistic talent.
If you have 0 artistic talent, Jen, which I just overheard, that is something that I need to come in and say again. You don't need artistic talent. Sorry, they hard to get out there, Betty. I've got the little knife here. Jen, do you want to just pop some out? Again, that comes back to chuck it all on the plate and maybe put something on your plate. So then it looks like you've done something fancy without doing much fancy at all. And I see, Ian, you've got a good idea there. You've got the colour changing, you've got the textures changing, you've got the spatial. Look, Dimity's going on a bit of an angle. That comes back to something with, you know, do you want lines of the same thing? Do you want lines of different things? Bruce has got a rose and a leaf.
I'll
That looks
leave
pretty
that
exciting. And I'll just, while you're doing that, I'll just chuck a little bit of the parsley.
So feel free to reach up to the greens. If you're down this end, go and grab some greens up that end.
Yeah.
Oh,
Or some blue cornflower.
They're quite large plates. If you'd like a smaller plate, I'll garnish. Put some coriander.
And the capsicum, but I think someone's using the capsicum.
Oh, yeah.
So I also have, I don't know if these strike your fancy. What have you got growing in your garden? You know, these are bay leaves. Chooks are not much chop on your plate.
As a garnish?
But you,
Cooks growing in the garden.
but you can, here you go, Jen, no artistic bent. You could use a couple of bay leaves to change your whole fancy. Ian, that looks really good. What are you looking for?
Something green.
Something green? Here, you have to choose. I'll bring it all
Green.
that way.
In this
So there's some rosemary, bit of thyme, some parsley, carrot, some parsley.
Somewhere an old one.
Well, unfortunately, yeah, we're sort of
It's crispy minstrel.
Small parsley.
there's a little bit of the star lettuce as
Irish
well.
fruit.
A bit of that, so you're gonna fill it up. Yeah, that's cool.
Some home people, animals, and some children.
Yeah,
Oh, do this.
Remember that song?
Everyone's having fun.
No,
Oh, that
Unicorn.
Parsley, just
Some of the dark leaf over there.
the dark leaf lettuce.
There.
Green.
That's probably not very kosher. Rolling across the table, but nobody can be killed by flying lettuce. At least not that I know of. Yeah, it could be. One lettuce cuts it up. Bruce is happy with
Doesn't
his.
look real special, but there you go.
What we're going to do when
Your
we're finished
special
is just
lettuce.
have a little bit of a
That's
look
enough.
around.
When can we eat?
Soon enough.
There's always one, isn't there?
I know. So while you're plating those up too, with the lemon. Oh, Dimity, here's your little garnish that you made. Does anybody want some of their little puff garnishes? Triangles or
Oh, yeah.
circles or...
Would you eat this plate?
There's no idea.
Yes, absolutely.
No, one of the long ones.
The capsicum over Polly?
Yep. Here we go, this is a lot of fun. Ian, do you want to just move sideways a little bit? Thank you, not too much, it's good. You got enough space?
Yep.
And do you need anything else? Anybody want a bit of bay leaf or... Yes, bay leaf?
I think I've gone a bit overboard.
No,
No such thing as overboard garnish.
No?
I don't think so either.
No.
You know,
I wouldn't mind a
they
bit of-
definitely look appetising.
Can I have a little bit of sesame seed?
Sesame seeds.
That appeals to me.
I love sesame seeds.
I do too. What about Nigella seeds? Are good?
I've got some Nigella. Do you want some Nigella?
Oh no, it's not necessary. But
Well, Nigella are very good as well. I will
oh my
just show
lord,
them.
the smell is just divine. I think maybe the veggie ones, maybe just sprinkle from above like they do on MasterChef.
So for anybody who's not quite sure, the Nigella seeds are the little black sesame seeds. So they are quite striking. You
They
know,
often have them on Turkish bread.
and I can see here most people today we're using white plates or clear plates. Of course that looks great, look garnish on top of the food, but say when you've got a plate like Jen's where things are sort of spread apart,
You'd eat that?
you could even just get some of the Nigella and sprinkle, you know, in a place
That's
on
the Nigella.
the table,
This one is the one.
place on your plate, whatever fancy. Now see that's a bit,
What's that?
no they don't
No,
stick.
you need it sticks
If you
on
do
top.
want things to be stuck onto your puff pastry, when you do that egg wash,
No, I'm not having
they
that.
will stick to the egg wash.
Oh, well, let's see what I'll have them.
Yeah, I don't know how many's underneath there.
That,
Oh, I
Once we
did.
get them all in.
I ate that.
I reckon
Wait.
So I toasted those sesame seeds. They're just sesame
Got
seeds
another one?
out of a packet,
Yeah.
and then I just
Is
dried
there anything
it.
on the hidden under
Oh,
that?
slow paste. The slow paste was delicious. That's not
Okay.
cooked by us, but it was gorgeous.
Oh, is there a bit of coriander in it?
Yes, just a bit of coriander if you like some, and I've already pre-washed these, so
Okay, lovely.
go for it. So once again, with the kitchen hygiene, I mean, if you consider what you're putting on, if you pick things out of your own garden, please do check first that there are no spiders, slugs, snails, whatever there might be inside. Give
Extra
it a good
protein.
wash with your garnishes,
Yes.
make sure they're washed. And sometimes you've got to dry them out to make sure that they don't make your food soggy with a wet, sloppy parsley hanging
That's
around.
nice.
That's cool. Now with these, because we didn't put the meringue top on our lemon meringue pies and we just made them into little lemon tarts, a very simple way to decorate them up is I've just put some icing sugar inside my tea strainer, and we can just give them a bit of a whack on the top there, and you know, to create a bit of a difference on your tray. If you've got a square, you might do half and then leave the other half.
You could you put melted chocolate on top?
You could do chocolate on the top. You could also pipe a bit of cream, just plain cream. You don't have to do the egg meringue stuff on the top of that. You could put cocoa in this as well, for not with the lemon tarts probably, but say you do a raspberry brownie or whatever.
Yeah.
And another thing that I did want to touch on, but we haven't actually cooked the sweets, any much sweets today, so that's something for next time. There's another thing, I can see you've all got beautiful spacing, you've got different things in lines. Betty's got a great shape there of all things together. Everyone has done a very, you've got a garden almost, Chris, it's fantastic. If you're doing something which is all regular sizes and shapes, like slice, for instance, or cake, if you've cut up your slices and cakes into little fingers or little squares, do you put them on a diagonal? Do you make them square straight? Do you put them on an angle, all in one line one way and all in the next one the next way, just to give it a bit of a visual change? But everyone want to do a circle around and we'll have a look at each other's plates. We'll just talk a little bit about your concepts, maybe.
Okay, that's.
Everyone wants to take photos. No eating until we've taken photos. You are allowed to take photos. But come and circle around and we'll have a look.
Yeah.
Bruce, you've really made that rose look cool with the leaf coming out of it. And he's integrated that. That looks really good, doesn't it? With the different, he's got those
Very nice, Paulie.
and the garden
Nice.
garden. I love this garden. Bruce, that's so cool.
Well, look, give me
That's
coriander
a
and I'll
nice
put it on
one
everything.
That's the minimalist.
Yeah.
The Japanese Zen garden.
That's the dieter.
This one's great, Ian. I love that you've used your little puffs and the nigella seeds. You managed to balance them quite well.
That was hard. That was hard.
That was very hard, but good job.
This looks good, Shirley.
This is probably the
Jimmy,
nicest
looks
one, I
nice.
reckon.
Jim!
Most
Oh,
creative.
that's very kind of you, Bruce.
That really appeals to me.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Very
Dimity,
nice.
I
They
love
all look
this.
good.
You've got obviously, you know, a bit of a
Yeah.
food background and
Oh, yeah.
you've made
Yeah.
those, but see the seeds, see the difference the seeds make on the plate.
Yeah, that
Just
was
really change it. This is cool too. I like that you've done a different shape. So
Yeah.
you haven't got everything in lines. You've
Like the
actually
rose.
And this one appeals to most, Jen, to Bruce. That's cool.
Doesn't it? That's
And
what I
Cheryl,
thought.
that's great with the seeds there. You can see the different colours that we put in, which is fantastic. I'm just going to get a photo of everyone there and your aprons and everything. And thank you very, very, very much. Has everybody taken a photo who would like to take a photo of their own plates?
Oh,
I'll take a photo of yours. Excellent. We'll do that. Then we'll just go through finishing off the evaluation form again, which we might just wrap up so that we can eat the food, and then we'll complete the evaluation during that time while we're doing resting and relaxing. Once again, seriously, thank you so much for coming along. I hope that you have enjoyed this.
Yeah.
All the emailed recipes will come to you. I think you've got the knack. Look at that. They look so appetising. Bon appetit, everybody.
Blue cheese for cake.
Hooray!
I'm blushing. Seriously, thank you so much, and thank you, George, for doing the filming.
Yeah, well
Thank
done.
Fantastic.
you, George.
Thank you, George.
One malfunction, and we tap danced through it all. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Your calm, measured approach, George, that helped.